Okay, let's take a look at Prolog and the list data type. So on the left hand side we've got a number of lists here, and on the right hand side we've got the Prolog application running. So at the top here we can see there is a list with square brackets, and you can see this list has various data types. We've got atoms, we've got empty lists, we've got variables, we've got predicates there with multiple arguments, we've got a list inside a list, and we've got a number there. So a number of different data types a list can hold in Prolog. Okay, so a list has got two main parts to it. It's got a head and a tail. So we're going to have a look at that here. So if we take a look at this one, copy this one and put it into Prolog, we can see there's two parts to this list. You can see the vertical bar is separating the two parts. The first part on the left is called the head of the list, and the right hand side of the vertical bar is called the tail of the list. So the head of the list always contains a single element. That single element can be just a value, it can be also a list in itself. The tail, on the other hand, is always a list, whether there is one element in that list or multiple elements in that list. But the tail is always a list. The head can be an element or a list in itself. Let's put this one into Prolog. We can see we have a list within a list. And you can see in this case here the head is actually a list, and the tail is everything after the first element. So the first element is the list itself, 1, 2. Here we have it switched around, so we have the internal list on the right hand side, or in the tail part. So you can see here the head is a single element and the tail is a list, but it's a list within a list. Here we have the head being a list this time, and the tail once again is always a list, everything after the head. First element is the head, which is 1. Everything after the head is part of the list, part of the tail. Okay, so Prolog has some built-in predicates that we can use. It has the length, so these are already defined. We don't have to build them up from predicates or rules. So we have the length predicate, member predicate, reverse predicate, select predicate. So let's take a look what the length one does. As you can see here, the length built-in predicate takes an array of 2 or 2 arguments. The first one here being this section here, and the second argument being this section here. So the second argument is the variable. The first argument is what we put is the argument that we look at. And you can see here it's got elephant, 45, SD, and X. So how many elements are in that list? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get returned, the length of that list is 4. Let's take a look at this one. Here we can see we have an array of 2. Once again, for this length predicate, the first part of that list is here and the second part is here. If we take a look at the first part, there we can see there are three parts to it. So we have the elephant, we have the empty list, and we have the list for the third argument there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we have using the built-in member predicate to Prolog, and this time we have it takes an arity of 2 or 2 arguments. The first argument is the dog and the second argument is this list here. So what this member predicate does, it checks to see if this first argument is within the second argument or this list, and it is, yes it is, it's located there, so it simply returns true. Let's take a look at the reverse predicate here. So once again, the reverse predicate, built-in predicate, is an arity of 2 or 2 arguments. We have the first argument there and the second argument here. The second argument is a variable because it's capital. And the reverse predicate simply reverses the order of the list in the first argument there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goes to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and assigns it to the